Hello there. This is Sherry coming to you from Armstrong, British Columbia. And I don't normally do a 12 card spread, but for some reason I laid out 12 cards this morning with the vice versa tarot deck, and something within me said, you need to share this. So the reason I pulled out this spread is because many people have been feeling and expressing that they feel like life is too small. They've been living too small and they want to live bigger, but they don't know how. So this spread is for you if you have been experiencing feelings of I want more, I want to do more, I want to live more on purpose, I want to live more in my passion, I want to do more and be more, but I don't know how. So I don't know how to think bigger, I don't know how to act bigger, I don't know how to get in alignment with doing more, being more of service, providing more care and more help without actually depleting myself. So we're going to see what the cards have today here. So I did a 12 card spread. The vice versa tarot is a very interesting deck because the cards have meaning on both sides. I like to think of it with the law of polarity, because the law of polarity states that if there's an up, there's a down. If there's a front, there's a back. There's always an opposition to everything. And so one of the things that's really cool about that is that if you are not a lottery winner right now and you really desire to be a lottery winner, then because you have that desire, then somewhere there exists the possibility that you have won the lottery, because you wouldn't be able to think the thought if the thought wasn't allowed to come true at some point in time, right? And so that means if you can think about going higher, then there's always a lower. If you can think about things being black, there's always a white. So things are always in opposition. And so because these cards have meaning on both sides, some of them are night and day, some of them are front and back of the scene, and some of them are just two different perspectives of the scene. So sometimes I'm called to read both sides, and sometimes I'm called to read only one, and sometimes I'm called to read the reverse and not the reverse. So I just sort of go on my own intuition about what's going on within the cards. So I pulled the cards already. Let's see what they have to say. So the very first card, and I just have a little, I wrote down what the meaning of each card is for me as I pulled them. So I'm just going to reference that, which is why I'm looking over here. So the very first card is the idea of in the present right now, people are feeling that they're not on purpose and they're not living their passion and they're thinking too small, but they don't know how to think bigger. So the interesting thing about this is the, I think it might actually be the Emperor in this deck. I'm going to look. But it is the number 4 card in this deck. The gentleman here is, he's all decked out in his armor. He has gold in one hand, and he has like a staff in the other. He's wearing a crown. He is all decked out, and he looks like he's extremely capable. If we look at the back of the picture, like I said, this shows the back of him, which shows fire and ice together. It shows the picture of the sun, and this is likely the moon. I love the depiction of this. Let's see what it says here. Usually I don't use the book so much when I'm doing this, but these cards I actually really adore. Yeah, this is the Emperor, and the Emperor is usually about the future. So it's interesting that I pulled this card and we're actually sitting from a place of we don't necessarily like what our future is and we want, or what our present is, because we're feeling too small and we're thinking too small. And the Emperor is about thinking more into the future. When the Empress comes up, it's more about being in the now and being present. And the Emperor is more about thinking in the future. So what does it say? It says the Emperor is clad in full armor. He sits on his cube-shaped throne at the mouth of a cave. The throne is weathered, the ram's heads on either side worn smoothly over the ages. Above his right hand floats an orb of pure gold, which makes me think that This is actually in the past in the picture, which makes me think that we have the pure gold already that we need to create what we want. So that law of polarity kind of comes in because we already have what we need. And in his left hand, he holds a golden anka. I don't know how to pronounce that, A-N-K-H. Between them, a sun face is etched in gold on his armored breastplate. The emperor's crown is iron, bearing the symbol for Mars. Very interesting. Deep lines are etched on his face, which expresses both strength and care, for his responsibilities are great. So, getting this side, the emperor differs from his empress in the dominion of the realms. She is the nurturer of life ever renewing in an endless cycle, and thus for her the present moment is key. He looks toward the future, both immediate and long term. The emperor builds things to last beyond his future, so a legacy, and I have a feeling that that's what many people are thinking and feeling, like they want to build and create this legacy, and they're not really sure how. And many of us, like myself, have been helping other people step into a place of what legacy do you want to create, but I haven't actually been placing myself in the but what legacy do I want to create? So this is really interesting. So he looks toward the future, both immediate and long term. The emperor builds things to last beyond his lifetime. When this card comes up, consider your legacy. How would you like to expand your influence, and what do you want to leave behind? And so I get the sense that that is definitely the present. That is definitely why I did this whole card spread. So the card that comes over top of this is actually the Fool. And so this is our challenge. And part of me, when I see this card, is almost like we understand that everything's all connected, but our challenge is sort of what we see is what we get. We're so used to looking at the past. We're so used to looking at society how it is. We're so used to looking at things in a certain way that it's almost like we keep recreating what we already have because we're stuck in a loop. So when we look at this card, he's looking into the past from my perspective. The sun is back there. He's standing up on a mountain. He's got an empty cup beside him, and he's wearing green, which means like he's heart-centered and he knows what he wants. There's a snake in this card as well on his staff, and that makes me think connecting the chakras and building the energy up and wanting to leave something behind, but being challenged in our thoughts and being challenged in society and being challenged in our time or our lack of. And if we look at the back of this, like I mentioned, it's the nighttime versus the daytime. And in the back of this picture, he's actually looking more into the future. And there is a dog that is actually behind him that I always think of dogs as unconditional love. Because the Fool is wearing green in this card, this also makes me think of unconditional love. We want to create a purpose and a passion and a legacy for this unconditional love, for this sending love and creating love into the future. And I get the sense that we're challenged by what society is, how our mental thoughts and beliefs and our actions and our time is keeping us kind of stuck in what we think we're capable of, what we think we're worthy of creating, what we think we have the time for and the money for, and all of those things. I'm going to take a look at what the Fool card says in the book to see if that has any insights. And so, isn't that interesting? A blind youth stands at the edge of a precipice at sunset. Though the situation seems perilous, his attitude is serene, not because his eyes cannot see the danger, but because his inner sight tells him that all will be well. The country from whence he came is arid and mountainous, and yet he made it this far alone. Foolhardiness is the boldness to do what appears to be foolish. It springs from innocent trust in the inherent goodness of the world. The fool travels light, and the small satchel contains only what he must, only what he holds most precious. Some say that it holds the collected knowledge of universal memory. And that's very interesting because what goes around comes around, and we're all connected. So rather than doing what seems reasonable, logical, or safe, the Fool epitomizes the idea of taking a leap of faith. And so that's part of our challenge as well. We want to take a leap of faith, but some of us are really afraid to. And we're not really sure where that leap of faith is going to take us. So though success is the ideal outcome, it's the leap itself that matters the most. The fool goes from experience to experience in a serendipitous way. Every turn along his path adds to his wisdom. Choose to be bold and foolish if you want to make progress on your own path. So many of us are feeling that we're not getting out of our comfort zone. So we're challenged by comfort and safety, and actually doing things that are different, whether we'll be accepted for making those things, whether they'll be good choices or bad choices, or whether we'll be judged, or whether we'll be accepted, or whether we'll be abandoned by people. So there's many things that we're challenged by in order to determine what legacy do I want to create and how do I want to create it. And here are my arms is standing up there, so that's definitely something that we needed to hear. So the third card for us is the foundation or root cause. Like, why are we stuck in that place? And then I get the sense when I look at this, it's the number 1 card, and we're stuck in that place because we feel like we're silos. We're not actually connecting to everyone around us. And this infinity sign is on top of this person's head, and there's a flower growing behind him, but he's not turning around to look at it. There's a whole garden of things, but I get the sense that if we continue to think that we need to build a legacy by ourselves, then the root cause is that we're not meant to. So that's really interesting. And if we look at the front of this, you can see that it's quite different than the back. Again, the infinity sign that everything is connected is in front. And we are looking at the back of this card, but if we were to look at the front, you can see that there is definitely a pentacle and a cup and a wand and a sword. So number 1 is basically that we have all that we need. But in here, the root cause is we feel like we don't have anything that we need, and we feel like we're all alone trying to do it. So let's see what the number 1 card says here. This is actually the Magician card in the traditional tarot. So the back of the Magician faces the sunset in communion with the power of night meeting day. He acknowledges the darkness and the light both within and without. In the shadows, the back of his robe is not red, but purple, the color of the 7th chakra, the energetic seat of wisdom and enlightenment. The robe bears the pattern of the Kabbalistic tree of life. Behind the Magician, a single lily pushes its way upward between the paving stones. What you get? Well, this is a threshold time for your endeavor, a time when new creation is trying to push through. Deepen and pull your energy inward. One of the tenets of magic is keep silent. If you find your endeavors are stalling or not progressing at the pace you wish, move into the silent, dark space within you and focus. Magic requires concentration and freedom from distractions. The power is there, but you must bring it forth yourself. So I think part of the root cause is we don't see our power, and part of our root cause is that we're not actually going outside of ourselves. We are going outside of ourselves to find it, and we're doing it from a place of being a silo. So the cool thing about this timing of this is that Mercury just went retrograde, which means the biggest planet in the solar system, the planet of joy, is appearing to be in reverse as we see it from Earth. And it's reverse in the sign of Scorpio, which means we're going within to cultivate our own joy. So this ties in as well with connect to your inner wisdom and connect to source and know that you have what it takes and go within yourself to determine what it is you want your legacy to be, to determine who can help you, to determine how it is that you want your life to become and who you need to be and what powers do you need to cultivate. So I get the sense that by pulling this card, our root cause of why we're stuck is that we don't know. We're going outside to find things. We're assuming that we don't have a community. We're assuming that source isn't guiding us, that our inner selves aren't along for the ride. We assume that we're trying to create things all by ourselves when actually we're co-creating. So that is magic in itself. So in our recent past, there's a lot of major arcana cards in this pull, in this spread for the Celtic Cross. So our recent past, so what have we been doing? And I get the sense from this, what is it? It is a 14, which is a transformation card. And there is a lion sitting with a bird, and the angel in the front of this card doesn't seem to be noticing that the lion and the bird is at her back, and she has wings, and she's looking at sort of connecting into her strength in a different way. Almost get the sense that part of the reason we haven't been doing this whole legacy thing is that we've been helping other people build theirs, and so if you've been working like a 9 to 5 job, it's as though you've been helping someone else build their fortune, and so you're doing it in exchange for the money that you're making, which is giving you a house and a car and whatever it's giving you, but you're not actually seeing what is within you and around you in order to be able to help you build your own. So we're sort of stuck in that place of, but this is what I've always done. This is what I know, because I only know what's in front of me, and I haven't actually, turned around to look at the full view. Interesting. Let's see what this shows from the book's perspective. This is very different than how I normally do readings, but I'm hoping that you're getting exactly what you need from this. Well, this is the Temperance card. I told you I'm not familiar with this deck, so some of these cards I've actually never pulled for myself before, so some of them are quite new. So across the river from the Angel of Temperance stands the gallows of the Hanged Man. The gallows is empty now. Perhaps the Hanged Man was influenced by the presence of Temperance and no longer needed to remove himself from the mundane world. Isn't that interesting? Or perhaps the gallows await the Hanged Man, and the Angel of Temperance is the keeper of this transformational place. Behind the angel are the white eagle and a red lion. Alchemical embodiments of the elements of water and fire. Temperance is a peaceable combination of opposites in perfect balance. Isn't that interesting? But they're behind her. So perfect balance exists in what it is that we're doing right now in our lives. So in our recent past, it's as though we have perfect balance. Even though we want more, it's almost as though we're afraid to upset the apple cart. So from this viewpoint, you are looking toward the hangman's gallows. The angel stands between you and the gallows, the red wings spread wide, the eagle, the lion, the angel all seem to be preventing you, or at least cautioning you, from undertaking an act of sacrifice. That makes sense to me as well, because if we look at our recent past, then we feel like we don't want to sacrifice what we have or what we have been doing in order to create more, because we don't know for sure, we don't trust that what we want to create as our legacy is going to be more. So we're thinking small because we're afraid of going outside of our comfort zone and actually finding more. So this is not the time to surrender your ego to a higher cause. And that's exactly what has been keeping most of us stuck, is that we feel like the timing is off. And if the timing is off, then when is the timing ever going to be on? And part of me actually thinks that this timing of the 4 months of Jupiter going into retrograde, yeah, the hair on my arms is standing up, is actually going to guide us into divine timing, so that we're going to have what we need within us in order to cultivate the ideas, in order to cultivate all of those things that we need, that are all available if we just look for them. We're going to have the money that we need. We're going to have the food. We're going to have everything that we need in order to be able to cultivate this legacy we want to create, as long as we're willing to get out of our comfort zone and do it. And the interesting thing about this, is that the next card is the Hanged Man. Of course, right? So the Hanged Man and the gallows. The picture that came up was the nighttime, and it looks like he actually looks like he's pretty comfortable there, and he's actually looking at the world from a perspective of of, yeah, this is not exactly where I want to be, but this is a different perspective. And if he looks at the heart-centeredness and throat-centeredness, the colors of the robe, green is the heart chakra color, and this is the throat chakra blue color. And it's as though he knows that he needs to do things from a different perspective. And what card is this actually representing? Yeah, this is representing the possibilities. And I like that the Hanged Man is wearing red pants, because even though he's upside down in this picture, the possibility is grounding himself. On this side, his pants actually look more orange, which ties me into the sacral chakra a little bit, but grounding himself into the creativity and the capacity to use his heart and his throat and communicate in a different way in order to bring about this legacy that we want. So let's see what the book says about the Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man vigil goes on into the night, not to the dark night of the soul, but the glittering night of cosmic awareness. So this is our possibilities. Two men stand before him, marveling at the vastness of the heavens. They are the two acolytes of the Hierophant, Major Arcana 5, and this is the next stage of their spiritual development. Very interesting, because we are going within right now for the next 4 months to determine what it is that we already have within us in order to create joy and cultivate that joy outside of ourselves. So now the Hanged Man is their teacher, modeling how to give up what they know, the dogma of the church, and surrender to the unknowable. And so in this case, it's not necessarily the dogma of the church, but it's societal norms and the comfort and our lack of trust and our assuming that we won't have what it takes, and being stuck in looking at things the way they are, and assuming that we don't have everything that we need, that we're going to be independent, that we're silos, that we don't have the community in order to bring our legacies into fruition. So the two sides of the hangman can be seen as exaltation and inhalation, exhalation and inhalation, metaphorically speaking. On the other side, ego and preconceptions are released. On this side, symbols enter the consciousness one by one, to be perceived more clearly by a mind emptied of expectations. Isn't that interesting? So if we actually feel there's an expectation of what we're meant to create as a legacy, then maybe we're feeling that we won't actually do that, that the expectation is we won't be enough, we won't create enough, that it won't be good enough, so that we're just not leaving our comfort zone in order to do it. It is helpful to lay this card side by side with the Hierophant and compare them as the two acolytes are doing. The snake of the Hierophant's cross has come down to earth. Wisdom is no longer linked to doctrine. It is an attribute of contemplation. The mask is broken. Illusions are shattered. What are you now ready to see? So the possibilities is, if you actually break the illusion that you're stuck in society, that you don't have what you need, that you're looking for everything external when you really should be internally looking for what it is you want to create, how you want to create it, how you want to create this big service and to present it to the world, then you can bring it into fruition. So I actually really like that these came through the way that they did. So let's look at the next card. The next card is immediate future. So this is our immediate future from the perspective of now. And this is the Six of Swords, which makes me think that after some great transformation, and this is actually, this makes me look at like there was a lot that went on in the past, that we're actually looking into the past and going deep. And we're safe because we're in a boat. And these people are both cloaked, which makes me think that they're sort of hidden, and they're sort of looking from a perspective of, it's okay, I can look into my past and not be seen. But it makes me think that the water is deep and dark, and so we can choose to go into our past as far as we decide to go, that we don't have to go all the way back in and get stuck back there, that we're actually looking for joy. And that makes me think of the stars that they're looking into, because the stars are are a place where we're all connected. It's a place where all that is. It's a place where we can find our nurturing and our connectedness. Interesting. So let's see where this card is for the Six of Wands, or Six of Swords, sorry. So this side up, a hooded ferryman sets out into open water, his humble boat bearing one passenger, who is also cloaked and hooded. 6 swords are fastened to the outside of the little boat. The water is calm and shimmers with reflected starlight. The far shore is veiled in mist and cannot be seen. It is wise to remove yourself from conflict for a time at least. This may be an actual retreat where you can find healing and solace, or it may mean simply being silent and not engaging in debate or quarrels. You don't need to make a statement about it, just quietly withdraw. And that makes me think that that's actually what we're actually doing, as Jupiter is in the planet. Jupiter, the planet of joy, is going retrograde in Scorpio. These next 4 months are actually finding that place of joy within us. And we are going to cultivate within ourselves what it is that we want to find, that we desire to find, and then we can bring those things into the future when we're ready. Let's see what the next card is. So the next card is our perspective. So the perspective card is all about transformation. And it's as though we really need to heal the past, because this gentleman, it looks as though that he has 2 swords over top of him, and he has 1 sword in the front, and he's looking into the past, and it looks like someone is wounded behind him, as though he really has to do some deep inner work, looking into the past in order to determine what it is we need to transform in order to cultivate the future that we want. So let me show you the card. So this is the 5 of Swords. So we just looked at the 6 of Swords, and now we're going to look at the 5 of Swords. And again, this is our perspective. So a warrior stands tall in the sunlit landscape, holding swords taken from his conquered enemy. He clearly finds satisfaction in the defeat of his foes. More swords lie at his feet, where an exhausted comrade has fallen to the ground. The battle is over and they have won, but the castle for which they fought is in ruins. Victory has come at a price that may seem too dear for the rewards gained. Psychologically, you may be feeling depleted, especially if the struggle has made you doubt your ethical center. Winning a battle you're not completely convinced is righteous only gives satisfaction in the moment. So some of that rings true for me about this card. So your perspective is it may not be worth it in order to move ahead and create a legacy because of what you're fearing you'll leave behind, and because of what the societal norm is, and because of how deep the waters may be, and how far you may have to go, and that you're not actually noticing that you have everything that you need already. But I get the sense that the transformation that will happen for us when we experience joy within is going to allow us to see that the place that we are protecting is not going to be in ruins, that the transformation does not have to be overwhelming change and transformation that is so crazy and so tough that we're not even going to know who we are when we're done the transformation. We're actually looking for joy within ourselves and how to express that joy, serving it to the world. So I get the sense that this transformation is not going to be as onerous as some people sort of feel that it might be. Let's check our next card. Our next card is about external influences. It is in reverse. So we're feeling like our external influences are not nurturing us the way that we want them to, because the this makes me think that there was a great battle, that there's bloodshed, that there's a right and a wrong way to do things, and that by us moving forward in this way, and that we're not actually going to be protected, that we may be abandoned, that we may be killed, that we may be killing things that are not, that are things that we want to keep alive. Let's see what it says as the Six of Wands card. So it says, thick black smoke rises in the distance, perhaps from the battlefield or from burning homes that have been pillaged in the war. The people hailing the victorious knight are his loyal foot soldiers. While he rides unscathed high upon his war horse, his men are blood-stained, for they have done the actual fighting. And this also makes me tie into the 9 to 5 question I asked you ahead of time, like I asked you before. If you are cultivating, if you're working in a 9 to 5 and you have everything that you need, but you don't feel like you're on purpose, or that you're working in a passionate job and that you want more, then are you one of the people who is actually working for the gentleman on the horse? And are you feeling like you are being put through the tests, and externally that's what it's all about, that the people around you are all being put to the test, and that the people who create legacies are like this gentleman who's actually riding the horse, who hasn't done the actual fighting, who doesn't understand what the rest have been through. And so it may be the external perspective is that you don't want to be this person who stands out and rides away on this horse, that you might be abandoned, or that you might be separated, or you might not be accepted. So their battle staves are metal-tipped wood, as we saw in the Five of Wands, while the knight's staff is gold and purely ornamental. In the flush of victory, people tend to overlook what roles were really played in the endeavor. Mutual congratulation glosses over inequality of effort. Over time, resentment may come to the surface if recognition isn't given to those who deserve it. Financial rewards help, but over the long term, everyone needs to feel valued for their contribution and to the success of the endeavor. Yeah, so I get the sense that many of you are seeing this external influence of, maybe I'm not being valued enough for what I have been doing, but in order for me to be and feel valued, you don't actually want to be the boss. You don't actually want to be that separate segregation. Interesting. Okay, so the next card is the secret fears or secret desires. And again, it's a major arcana. And this looks like the Chariot card. It is the 7 card, which makes me think a definite connection to source and the ability to manifest. This is this card in this deck. It makes me think that your secret desire is to be the person who can run your own business, the person who can create the legacy, but you sort of fear that you'll be separated from the pack, that you'll be abandoned, that you won't have enough, that you're not worthy enough, that you won't have all of your resources. And so thinking too small is maintaining a state of I'm stuck where I am, rather than allowing you to think in that secret desire of, but I want bigger, but I want grander, but I can do more, but I can be more, but I can have more, but I don't know, but I don't know, but I don't know. So I get the sense that you want it, but you don't know if you believe it. You don't know what the expectation is of the people around you. You don't. There's too many ifs, ands, or buts. Let's see what this says from the book. So the Chariot card, a warrior in silver armor rides upon a chariot drawn by 2 sphinxes. In his right hand he holds the caduceus, I have no idea how to pronounce that, Caduceus, through which he channels his will to drive the sphinxes forward. Interesting. Without this guidance, they pull in opposite directions. positive and negative energies striving away from each other like magnets. And again, that makes me think the law of polarities, almost like if you don't believe that you can win the lottery, or if you don't believe you can have the perfect relationship, or if you don't believe you can think bigger, then you're always tied to that side that's pulling you into the, but you don't believe it. So this is what you're going to manifest back to you. And so part of the fear is that you don't know if you can do it, but part of the desire is, but I know I want this. So it almost feels like you're being pulled in both polarities. And when that happens, you sort of peter out in the middle and you don't get pulled anywhere. So in the sky above the chariot is Ursa Major, which is the Big Dipper. The Great Bear, also called the Plow, among many other names. Citing this constellation makes it easy to find the North Star, legendary star of guidance, which basically tells me that you're being guided in order to find your desires. And that also makes me think that we're being guided by the planet of joy to go within ourselves to cultivate the desire, to cultivate the I can do this, to cultivate the I deserve this, to cultivate that I already have everything I need. The North Star shines from the charioteer's brow. He is his own star of guidance, navigating only by desire. So this card is saying, from the book's perspective, it's time to take charge of your own destiny. The stars are aligned for you to step into a greater personal power and make real progress in your life's journey. But you need to keep your eyes on the road and not be distracted by trivial concerns. So by trivial concerns, I'm seeing the, or thinking or feeling the, but I'm not good enough, but I'm not lovable, but I'm not deserving, but I don't have everything that I need. But what if this changes and I won't get this? And so releasing all of those fears that have been keeping most of us stuck for most of our lifetimes. Lifetimes as in there's been many lifetimes before this that many of us are now releasing. I do work in the Akashic Records, so I've been helping people release a lot of things that have been stuck from past lifetimes. And it's time now for us to step into abundance and into purpose and into passion and into greater health and greater wealth and greater relationships and serving the planet and serving all who live here in a greater way. So things are speeding up. It's an exciting time with great potential for success. Whew, that made the hair on my arm stand up. So the last card is about the final outcome, and this is the likely outcome. And I get the sense that this is going to be the likely outcome if we allow ourselves to think bigger, and if we allow ourselves to be the capable, confident knower of personal power and go within and follow through with this whole thing about Jupiter going in and us cultivating the joy within in order to cultivate the joy without. And this is the 5 card. Very interesting, because this also makes me think similar to what the Fool card made me think, because it has to do with manifestation into the physical. It has to do with things being heart-centered and things being communicated, and it has to do with having everything we need and coming forward with it. So the purple makes me think intuition and source. The 2 keys make me think we have everything that we need. We just actually have to unlock what it is in our heart and unlock our sense of communicating in terms of listening to our guidance and in speaking our truth in order to create this legacy that we know that we can. Let me see what it says in the book. So this is the Hierophant card. Carved in the, the front. Hierophant raises his hand in blessing as 2 acolytes approach his chair. The pillars of his temple are marble, stone of divinity and immortality. His seat is granite, a stone of inflexibility and endurance. The Hierophant is a mortal man, but his face is masked below his golden papal tiara. Individuality doesn't factor into his role, which is to represent established religion. He is the conveyor of dogma, as the high priestess is the conveyor of mysteries. Whereas the teachings of the priestess are only for the initiated, the teachings of the Hierophant are available to all seekers. And I get the sense that we need to seek within, and that's why the planet of Jupiter at this time is going into Scorpio in an 11-year where we are following the moon and following being and following our emotions and going within ourselves to cultivate and co-create with our source and our highest self what we want. The two men who stand before him represent the desire for doctrine, the written word, and desire for illumination, the candle. Notice that the man holding the candle resembles the magician. Where the true illumination is found, the candle burns both upward and downward, as above, so below. And that makes me think that we can gain our intuition and our energy and our knowledge and our love and our wisdom from source and bring it into physical reality. But we need to connect them both. We need to connect our highest self and our human ego self. So sometimes the call towards spirituality can be satisfied through religion, which offers a path that has been trodden by many people before you. The precepts of religion can be learned without the need for analysis or inner searching. If you are drawn to such a path or already upon it, consider how you would feel if you questioned some of those precepts. Can you see the true face of the people whose authority you accept? That's an interesting question, isn't it? Because the interesting thing about religion, and I just read something somewhere, a book about psychic intuitive guidance by a woman named Laura Lynn. I don't remember what her last name is. And her idea of religion is that each of them is a piece of a plate, and it's almost as though each is a piece of a plate that is broken. And when you put together all of those broken pieces of the plates, you get the universe, you get everything, you get source. And so each of those religions, I almost want to think of it as a pie rather than a broken plate. Each of those pieces of religion, whether we're speaking Catholicism or atheism or any of the religions, doesn't matter what they are, each of them have things that are good and things that are not necessarily acceptance of other religions. But if we put all of them in a pie and we look at that whole pie, then that is source, that is universe, that is everything. And so regardless of whether you are looking internally from a perspective of this is my religion, this is what I believe, or I believe in all religions, or I believe in no religions and I just believe in source, it still comes down to speaking your truth, connecting into your heart, what it is that you want to create and what rules you feel that you need to follow. And the last line of this, can you see the true face of the people whose authority you accept? So are you accepting your own authority? Are you accepting the authority of society from a certain perspective? Are you accepting the authority of your parents or your spouse or your boss or a community of people? Whose authority are you looking at, and is that only a piece of the pie? Is it only a piece of what you believe? Is it only a piece of what you feel you're meant to create or provide? And so how do you step into that place of I can have it all, into that place of all of us are connected, into that place of it's time to bring what I want into the future. And that actually means going within myself and cultivating joy. So I'm actually bringing the future to me because I'm building a new me through this process in order to get the future to come to me into alignment so that I can receive it and accept it. Very interesting. So that is a Celtic cross, following some of the guidance from Jupiter following some of the guidance on what is it that it's keeping us feeling small right now. What do we need to do to go within to cultivate more joy within ourselves, and then determine what is it that we want to bring to the people around us. What is it that we want to co-create with our highest self and our human self in order to bring our own legacy to the world? So when we're gone, what is it that we want to have been provided, or that we want to provide the earth, or the service of the earth as it continues on when we're not here? And I did pull 2 more cards, so let's see what other kind of guidance we have. So I did pull, and this just makes me think of what is it, so how do we get more information on the legacy that we're meant to create? Because many of us kind of feel like we have a purpose, but I think the purpose for most of us is what lights us up. What is it that is joyful and happy for you? And so when you go into yourself, where is your happiness now? Where are you joyful now? So if you're looking external to yourself for your joy and your happiness, then you're expecting the world around you to make you happy. But the idea of the planet of joy being in Scorpio is that happiness and joy come from within us. So how do we grow and cultivate that in order to expand it so big, in order to shine our light so big that we're actually shining it out around us into the future, into the past, into the present, to our families, to our friends, so that we're so big that we're this shiny light that allows other people to cultivate their own joy within themselves and to expand that. Let's see what our guidance is. So one of the cards that came up was this one, which makes me think we actually have to see the people here are naked, and they're actually walking on a ground that looks like it's had no water for a very long time, and it looks as though this like fire god has taken everything away from them, including their clothes. And it came up in reverse. I'm going to take a look at the meaning in the book. This is the Judgment card. Interesting. So the day of judgment is here, when all people must come naked and without shame before their deity and be judged according to their deeds. And that's interesting, because I feel that a place of unconditional love, there is no judgment. And that sort of makes me think that that's what this is saying. The angel of the resurrection appears in a blaze of glory, carrying the power of the sun that shines within him. His eyes see far beyond mortal forms, and nothing is hidden from his sight. In his right hand he holds the shofar, the ram's horn that is blown on the Day of Atonement. A woman, child, and man approach over the cracked and barren ground. Nothing grows here, and all matter is burned away in purification until only the spirit remains to be judged. A time of spiritual awakening has arrived. You are called to atone for your sins, in other words, to correct your mistakes where it is possible, to ask forgiveness, and to offer forgiveness to others. And I get the sense that we feel that we need to do this, but that we haven't done things that need forgiving, and neither have the people that came before us, neither has society. It's all just what it was. It's all what it is. And so it's not about asking for forgiveness. It's about stepping away and observing the things that were, and then allowing ourselves to step into a place out of judgment where we're doing everything from a perspective of unconditional love and from a perspective of serving, but we're including ourselves, because many of us do a lot for everyone else and not for ourselves. And then we kind of judge that we have this like expectation or sort of obligation that we have to do things, and that we're not getting recognized for them, but we're doing it because we feel we have to, but the other people might not be expecting it or asking for it. So I get the sense that It's about including ourselves. That if we feel that we're being judged or that we're judging other people, then it's unconditional love has been sort of wiped out of the slate. It's off the plate. Judgment is related to justice, in that both deliver only what is fair, what has been earned, for better or worse. The judgment card is a gift because it's an opportunity to wash your spirit clean. Yeah, and I get the sense that we don't necessarily need to be washed clean and that we don't need to do anything in order to receive unconditional love. I believe that because we're on this planet, because we're connected to Source, because we're a soul in a human body, that we don't need to ask for atonement, that we don't need to ask for forgiveness, that we are loved. We are loved, we are loving, we are deserving, we are worthy. And many of us haven't felt that way. Many of us have felt that in order to be happy, I need to give up these things. In order to be loved, I need to do X, Y, and Z. In order to have money, I need to do X, Y, Z, and a whole bunch of other things in a certain order, jumping on one leg. And if I don't do it right, then I'm going to lose everything. And so I get the sense that we need to release that whole sense of we have to do this or else. We're already abundant. We're already worthy. We're already lovable. We're already loved. And so stepping into that place of I am a soul in a human body, and my innate gifts and talents are ready to be revealed, and I'm ready to know myself as Source and my higher self knows myself, and release the resistance and release the sense that I'm not enough. And we're going to need to do that over these next 4 months in order to step into that place of shining our light brightly and moving on our highest path and purpose and creating that legacy that we know that we want. And of course, it's the World card at the end, which is amazing. So the World card is basically that the world is abundant, that you're abundant, you have everything that you need, and that glory is there. That this whole process is going to bring you the joy. It's going to bring you, because you're going to understand that the joy is already within you and you're just bringing it out, that you're seeing it, that you're actually like wiping the darkness away and allowing yourself to shine the light within in order to bring the world to you. And then when you feel and you know that you're connected and that you're a piece of the light and that you're a piece of Source and that you are worthy and deserving, then you shine that out and attract more back to you. Then you give other people permission to be the world as well, and to shine their own lights and to attract their own goodness and to create their own legacies. So we're going to have the world, and it's going to be awesome. And I want you to step into a place that you are loved, that you are lovable, that you are worthy, that you are deserving, and that even if you need to trust in a way you haven't before, that you have what you need to do that. Even if you need to give up some of those things that are outside of your comfort zone or that you've been connected and comfortable with, it will all be worth it. It will be worth it to see yourself from this joyful internal perspective, because it's going to bring you everything that you desire and more. So be gentle with yourself over the next 4 months. Do some journaling, get lots of sleep, move your body in any way that feels really good, and do more things that just feel good. If you feel like you want to go for a walk, go. If you want to just curl up on the couch and read a book, do that. If you want to journal, if you want to meditate, if you want to do these things that are good for you. And I think that's what it is. And so not in a, eating my broccoli is good for me, because that has a whole bunch of shoulds attached to it, but are good for you in a way that make you feel like you're lit up, that make you feel like you're alive, that make you feel happiness and not expectations that you're pulling it from other people, but cultivating it within you and then sharing that, because you've cultivated within you and then you've done other things that are connected to that. I hope that made sense. I'm not going to go over all of these cards again, but I am setting the intention you got exactly what you need, that you're going to cultivate joy within you, that you're going to expand and create magical legacies. and I want to hear about it. So if you have any comments or questions, if you want to share, if you want to wait for a couple of months, because we're doing this over a 4-month process while Jupiter is in a sign of Scorpio, then it may take a little while. So you may want to come back to this like once a month for the next couple of months and see what's going on. Do that if you need to. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Namaste. Have a beautiful day.